In Dishonored, you can do this. And following our tutorial, you'll be able to do this. So currently this red guy here is following me because he's seeing me. And now we're going to do, I think that's also the blue guy, yeah. So they both see me, they're following me. I'll put the red guy like so. There we go, now we're the red goober. I call my enemies here goobers. And then now we'll possess this blue goober, like so. Now we're blue, red is there. And notice how, even though he sees me point blank, he just does not care. Because now I'm one of them. Hey, how you doing? We'll possess this guy. And now we've had enough of possessing around. We'll depossess, now we're behind him. And now they both see us, we'll possess again. They don't care. We'll possess again. And again. And okay, I think you get the points. Now we'll kill them. You're dead, and you're dead. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, as you can imagine, there are a lot of moving parts here, but what we do is this. From our player character here, we have a line trace starting from our camera. And if we hit an enemy, and the way we determine if you're hitting an enemy is that because all these guys, so the red goober here and the blue goober here, they are both child classes of one parent's enemy class. So let's just go here real quick. Goobers. So we have this enemy parent here that has this variable of health. Yeah, I mean set to 0, but for the goobers here, the blue goober, let's open up. Notice how it's an enemy. We are a child of the enemy parent class. So it says parent class, enemy parents, and we have set our health here to 20. And for the red goober here, it's the same, but we have set our health to 10. That's why when we got hits, when the blue gets hit twice, it dies, but red dies in one hit. Anyways, so both of these guys are parents of this guy, and that's good because we can use the line trace. We can use our line trace to basically just check if we're hitting the enemy parents, and it will check for both of these guys or any other child class we decide to make in the future. Maybe we'll make a green goober that has like 30 health or something. Whatever, you get the point. Anyways, when we hit that, we press our key. In this case, I chose B key. We press our key to possess. We press our key to activate the possession event. And what that does is we play our little animation of our camera zooming in. And then after we do that, we actually delete this actor and we replace him with our own custom mind control character. So we at first have a mind control parent, which is a child of our first person character, and that guy has two children, or possess blue and possess red. So the way we start is we let's say want to possess this guy. We look at him, then we look at him, then we delete this guy when we press our possession event and replace him with this. And then once we do that, we walk around a bit. Then let's say we want to possess this guy. Then we delete this actor, replace him with this, but then replace our current possessed actor with the original enemy. So we'll go back to Goober, Goobers, and Blue Goober. That's basically what we do. And when we depossess, we replace our guy with one of the reds here, with a red goober, and we spawn the enemy behind them, which we'll all get to how we do that. So I'll just Control Z this so the map is set back to original real quick. So that's the gist of what we're doing. And now, before I get to explaining how we do that, I just want to go over our enemies real quick. So as I mentioned before, our enemies are both blue and red are a child of the enemy parents. And all of these guys run on the same behavior tree. This goober behavior tree, it is extremely brain dead, but for the purposes of the tutorial, it's fine, it gets the job done. If you want to learn more about AI, this is not a tutorial. I recommend the Ryan Laley Unreal Engine 4 AI tutorial series that really taught me well. I'll put the link in the description if you like. And here we have our can see players not set, can see players set. So basically, we have a blackboard here of just these three variables. The only ones that actually matter though are target location and can see player. So what we do here is we just check if can see player is not set. We wait for a few seconds. We wait for 2 seconds. We find random location. We move to that random location. If we can see, find player location, move to location, wait 0.1 seconds, and repeat. And basically, it repeats as long as can see player is true. And what runs this is the Goober controller. So all of these guys are controlled by a controller called Goober controller. And here, at the beginning, we just run our behavior tree. However, more importantly, we check for our first person character, which should have something like the AI stimulus, I believe. Sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not. It seems I don't really have it now, but either way, it sees us. That's what's important. And here we check for a variable called disguised. Now this will come later on, and you can already kind of imagine what disguised is, but I'll talk more about it later on. And the important thing about disguised here is if can see play, we set our can see player to false always. If we see our player character, but it's disguised as true, can see player is false no matter what. But here, if disguise is false, then we actually do a proper check to see whether we actually see our player. So we break our stimulus, can see player successfully sensed, then we plug it in. Otherwise, it's just always false. Now with the AI out of the way, let's actually hold on. Before I forget, there are three essential things. There are three essential things. There are three essential things you need to do as a setup. This might break the pacing. I don't care. You need to do this. So otherwise, your program is not going to work. I'll edit this to be like at the front after I mention the enemies or something. Anyway, so before I forget, go to your player character and set the auto possess player to player 0. Then go scroll down, go to actor, and notice your spawn collision handling method. Set this to try adjust location, but always spawn. Trust me, this will make it work perfectly. And lastly, go to your world settings. If you don't have it here, just go here, window, world settings. Just click that. Then it should make like a pop-up here. Just drag and put that where you want. Anyways, in your world settings, your default pawn class is going to be whatever your player character is, right? For example, for us, it would have been the first-person character. Set it to none. Anyways, that's the very important stuff that you need to do, otherwise your program won't work. Over with, and now back to the actual tutorial. So our player character, let's talk about player character. So our player character at the beginning, it's not that much. It's just we just attached a gun instead of the construction script. I prefer to use the gameplay. And for the events tick, we have our own custom event called possess enemy events. And for our possess enemy events, it's just a line trace basically, right? We have a line trace by channel, camera, visibility. As long as it's something that can tag the enemy, it's fine. We have camera for now. And what we do is we start from our location and we just shoot up 2,000 unspecified Unreal units forward. And with this line trace, we check for the enemy parents because remember, these enemies are children. The enemies here are children of one enemy parent. And then what we do is we set to a variable called potential enemy, and we have a boolean called can possess. So just if you don't know how to do that, just go here, can possess. You get the points. That's how you make a variable. And however, if our cast fails, then we will just get our potential enemy. We'll set it to false, and can possess also false. So now here's the actual possession. Now this long tangent is for the animation. We currently don't need that. We'll talk about that at the very end. And so the way we start is we press the B key. That's what I use for the possession. And we first check if can possess is true. Then we check if our potential enemy is valid. Now you might think, hold on, it's always going to be valid because, well, we set it up here. And you're right. However, I always prefer to have this is valid checked with object variables like this. And then we have a sequence. And the reason why we have a sequence is because I wanted this demonstration to be scalable. So enemies often have more than one enemy type. Um and that's why if you want to add more enemy types, you can just add pin and just add as many as you want. Let's say you want 5, then that'll be your 5. Let's put this back. There we go. And for each sequence check, what we do is we get our potential enemy variable. Remember we set up here, and we get the class of it. Then we check if our class is red grouper. So this first one, we're checking if the guy we're tracing it towards is a red grouper. Then paradoxically, we destroy our player character. Now you might think, hold on, that makes no sense. How are we going to run everything else? Should we not do this at the end? No. Why? I have no clue. I would like to answer your question. I genuinely have no idea how this works. I don't know. Thank you, Unreal Engine. Anyway, so once you destroy your player character as actor, then we spawn in our possessed red goober. So if you remember, or if I mentioned, because to be frank with you, there's a lot of stuff here, and I might be quite forgetful. We have a parent mind control that is a child of our first-person character, and those guys have and this guy has its own 2 children, so blue and red, each with their own health, and we essentially spawn in the red here for our purpose, so the possessed red goober. And the way we spawn that is the potential enemy. We use the potential enemy's actual location and actual rotation. Then once we do that, then we destroy the potential enemy. And we do basically the same thing for blue, but except this time we're just doing blue stuff. So blue, we check if it's blue. Then we again just destroy character. If it works, I don't know, it just works, don't question it. Then we spawn in the blue goober. We get the location and rotation. We spawn the blue guy. And we also, once again, destroy potential enemy. And now, let's go to our mind control parent. So this is like the possessed, either the possessed blue goober or possessed red goober. There's parents, right? So this guy, mind control parents, is a child of our player character. And when we first spawn, we need to, have ourselves, so the character we're playing as, possess the player controller. Once we do that, then we go to event tick, and we have a very similar event to our jump enemy events. But this time, we use a different camera, because if you noticed here, for this one we're using the first person camera, but for this one you're just using a camera called camera. And what this camera is, it's this one here. This is under our mesh. Now, I mean, normally you could put it in like a socket, but I didn't bother to. I didn't feel the need to. And here it's the exact same type of line trace with the exact same approach. So making sure our potential enemy, we set our potential enemy can possess, no potential enemy, then no potential enemy, and can possess false. So far that's pretty simple. Now here comes the big scary looking part that's actually really simple. So we did the same 2 checks. Can possess is true. If is valid, then a potential enemy. If potential enemy is valid, then continue. Then we do our we start with the red goober. So if our potential enemy that we're pointing ourselves towards is the red goober, then we once again destroy our actor. Still no idea how it works. Then we get our potential enemy's location coordinates. We spawn in the red guy, and then we destroy a potential enemy. And if you remember, that's where it ended for our player character. Our player character, right? However, if you remember, we aren't just a player character anymore. We are like a mock-up of an enemy, right? It's like we're pretending to either be possessed blue with its own camera here, or possessed red with its own camera here. So we look like an enemy, so it makes sense if we possess another enemy, the guy we're possessing, comes back because they're supposed to look like an enemy and all that. So what we do then is we check our self here, right? If our self is a possessed red goober, then we just spawn in a red goober. We spawn a possessed red goober. We spawn a possessed, not possessed. My apologies, geez. We spawn in just a red goober. We spawn in the controller, and now our spawned in red goober uses the spawned in goober controller and possesses that. The exact same thing for the blue goober, like so. We go here. We check if the possessed blue goober is well, yeah, if we ourselves is a possessed blue goober, then we spawn in blue goober, then again spawn a goober controller, possess. That's it. It looks complicated, but once you zoom in, it's pretty simple, right? And now, before we go to the animation here, let's go to the depossess, and that's another potential bug fix. We'll get to that later as well. So our uh, here is our depossessing. So like when we press the what are our jump key is currently for me, it's spacebar. We once again destroy player character, somehow works. And if our self is a possessed red goober, so if you're currently possessed red goober, then we spawn in a red goober with the controller possessed. So it's the same shtick here, if you remember. It's the same shtick here. Then we do we get find viable location. This is to like spawn behind our enemy. We'll talk about that in a second. And then we just spawn in the first person character. So now this find viable location exists so that we can actually spawn behind our guy, right? So like notice how when we spawn, when we possess a guy. Also, by the way, the animation's turned off now, so you might be a bit confused about that. So now we're this guy. We will spawn right behind him. You see? And the way we do that is by using this function here, find viable location. So let's check this out. So our find viable location is a custom function. So go here, create a custom function, call it whatever you want. I call it find viable location. Let's click on it. And the way it works, again, it looks really complicated, but again, it's really simple. Is we have two local variables. Or sorry, my apologies. We have three local variables. We have an array list of ignored actors. The way you could do that, you could just do like this. Basically, you could just go like this to make this an array. Object array, call it. Then we just need actor, object reference, and array. And there you go. So you want to make sure that's an array. And then we set this ignored actors to that. And we also receive locations, right? Or coordinates, I call it here. And we start a line trace. So this is basically make sure that we can actually spawn in the back. If you notice, there was a line trace at the back when we depossessed. Let me show it to you again, real quick. Here we go. Possess this guy here. So we have this line trace here. And because the back is empty, hold on, we get to that. And we basically start with the back. So the way we do that is we get the forward vector, and we start with like a distance of a line trace you want to do. I chose distance of 200. You can make it whatever you want. So because that line that we had here behind this gentleman here was a distance of 200 unreal units. And we set the direction of -1. And if this line trace doesn't hit, then we just return this location here. So from here, we just return this one where it's 200 behind, so it'll be like, I don't know, somewhere around this text maybe, we spawn. However, if that's not the case, then we check the left. So we get our actor right vector, multiply that by the distance, distance times -1, and once again receive coordinates. This will be for the left, left of the guy here, so left of our possessed enemy. So it's like the line like so. I hope it's gray on gray. Hold on, maybe if I drag it like this. So it'll be like this. It'll spawn the left of there. Anyways, then we do it for the front of our enemy, so you know what the front is at this point. And then, if that also doesn't work, then we do it for the right. And if that doesn't work, then we just say Hail Mary and we just spawn it on the same exact location where our enemy is. And hopefully that works. And that is what the find vital location is. And for its inputs, we get the location from our spawned actor, and we put the location there. And for actors to ignore, because we wanted to ignore like the actor that we're spawning in, right? So we just put it like so. Actors to ignore. You go like this, make for it, and you just drag that, put that there. And again, it's the same exact logic for the blue guy. So for the blue group. Now let's talk about animations. So for animation, we start by getting our player controller, and we have our set control rotation, and we set our controller rotation to well, basically we just set our control rotation to the location of the enemy that we want to possess, right? So we get our actual location. We have find lookup rotation starting from where we are to the enemy. So for example, uh, let's plug this in because it's the same for both of them, right? It is essentially the same. I think it is actually legitimately the same for both of them. So we'll start with the player character. We'll just plug that in. So once we start, there we go. So once we look at our set control rotation, then we slow down time because notice in those games, the like time completely stops. We aren't technically 100% stopping time here though, um, but it's close enough effect where time is so significantly slowed down that it basically looks like it's stopped. Then we disable input, so you can't go left, right, whatever. We don't want the player to mess up the our perfectly set up animation that's about to start here. Then we have a timeline. So again, if you don't know how to make a timeline, just go here, add timeline, I believe. Yeah. Then we go here. Oops. Click on it, and you're gonna want to add a flow track. So just flow track. And our flow and our possession timeline looks a little something like this. So we have a flow track. We have a length of 0.50. So it's changed from 5 to 0.50. And we start from 0, 0. Then we go all the way to 0.5 to 1. And notice here how there's this funky looking thing. Like, if you don't know what this is, all you have to do is just click this, click on auto, and yeah, I could just kind of change it like this. That's what that is. Play around with this however you like. And whilst we're doing this, we set the field of views of our first person camera. And whilst we're setting the field of view, we have alert. So if you've watched my tutorial on, I believe it was the part 1 of dashing, LERP stands for like linear interpolation. So it's like basically going from one thing to another with a certain and I guess like mixture you might say with like a certain strength. So if it's like 0, it'll be here. If it's 1, it's here. And we go from 0 to 1 from our timeline here. And we start from 90 because our default field of view is 90. And we go all the way low to 10, and it makes that really nice zooming in effect. And once we're finished, then we set it back to normal. So notice how here at the set global time dilation is 0.1, and our custom time dilation is 10. We just set those back to 1 each. And we set our field of view back to 90, and then we call in the rest of the actual possession events. So this is the animation for the possession events. And for possession events for the player, and let's look at the animation for the possession events for when we're mind controlling it, right? So notice here, we will start here. So from is valid, we plug it in. It looks exactly the same. However, this time the camera, I believe, should just be the. Hold on, let me give me a second. Oh yes, that's right. The camera here is just our normal camera here. So that is the only difference. I'll give you a second to look at it. So we start from the control rotation. Our setup for what we set the rotation to is once again looking at the enemy that we want to look at. Then we set up the global time dilation. We disable the input. Then we uh, set the field of view to the uh, as the timeline goes. Then we set the global time dilation back, and we set the field of view to 90 once again when we're done. And yeah, it gives us this really nice effect. Now I believe it should be that. Oops. Seems like a compiler error. Yes, I accidentally unplugged this. My apologies. So there we go. Once this is compiled, so it gives us this really nice effect of zooming in. Surely you can increase the length of the timeline. That should make it slower if you want. But I mean, for me, this works well enough, so that's what I go with. Now, a potential bug fix for when you are possessing an enemy is here. Or sorry, I believe depossessing. Or actually, no, for both. So when we are depossessing, sometimes for whatever reason, it wants run like an enemy wants run the behavior tree, right? So for example, here I think is a good example. So our potential bug fix would be something like this. So we go here. Like this is an issue that occurs sometimes where even though we set the possess like so, it wants run the behavior tree. So be sure to have run behavior tree here. So our goober or yeah, our controller here will run the behavior tree of goober behavior tree. But for this tutorial, it seems to work well enough, so we don't need it. But that is a potential issue that could occur. I thought it was worth a mention. And well, yeah, that should be that. I'll just put that back in its place, like so. And yeah, that's basically it. I guess there's like a few more things I could mention, like how the when we're possessing this guy, we have a different uh, set of animations than when they're just normal enemies. So what I mean by that is here, where the possessed uses the anim class of possessed goober. So it looks like this. Or we just use this. We get the speed of this, vector length, speed. But these guys use, whoops, here we'll go to details. These guys use the anim p of this, like so. They once again get the speed, but they use the state machine, where this one is just idle, and this one is just running. Other than that, I believe that should be everything. If you have any questions, please comment them down below. I don't know if I'll actually answer them. I might. But to be frank with you, I'm a bit of a lazy person, so there's a high probability that I won't, but I might. So, yeah, that's it. And I hope this works for you, and I hope you have a nice day, and have a nice day.